one of the best things about EBLI, in my opinion, is that you don't have to set aside everything else. You know, you don't have, I'm a both and type of person, big time. And so EBLI allows you to continue with your reading program and then EBLIize it, you know, make your whole system much more, your system of instruction much more powerful. My name is John Boy. I'm the superintendent of the Potter's House School. I've been here from the very beginning as one of its founders.
My name is Mark Ponstein. I'm the principal of Potter's House, pre-K through 8th grade.
My name is Peter Vandebrake. I'm the principal at the high school at the Potter's House. But previous to this year, I was the curriculum director for the last 3 years.
We've been in operation at Potter's House for 35 years now. We had a neighborhood program for 6 years before that time, so we've actually been involved here in the neighborhood for about 41 years. The teachers were won over, the students were won over, and then when the test scores came back, everyone was won over. So that was one of the things that was really encouraging to me, because I felt that we needed to have a systematic reading support system, but we needed to have one that the teachers would have buy-in, that they actually believed in and wanted to do.
Of course, it was our middle school students when we started with EBLI the first year who, as middle school students can be, it's like, why are we doing this? This is second grade stuff. And it was interesting to get some written feedback from some even 7th and 8th graders last year. Our teacher did a little, read this paragraph, we'll time you, where are you at after this amount of time, and make note. And did the Ugly Blitz really with them for a couple weeks solid. We're going to hit this hard and see what we see. And it was interesting to see the eyes of some of our middle schoolers open when they themselves saw, wow, I read faster and I still understood, right? And so to get them to see some of those gains was kind of fun and eye-opening too. We did that together in the training with staff, right? Even adults who read fairly well, to be able to see when I'm thinking in this way and using this language and following some of these methods, it affects how well I read, how quickly I read, and how well I understand. But
Just in those 4 months, you know, our scores really increased significantly. We had a 10% increase in the number of students, or I mean a percentage of students who were reading at grade level, and so we went from about a 50% to a 60%. So that was a pretty significant jump. That was, I mean, when you look at the number of students, that was probably 40 students who were directly affected, who moved from below average to above average, or at average or above. And then in terms of expectation, on the MAP tests, they have a measurement of their expected growth, and we surpassed that by an average of 200%. In K through 8, and so that was I think that too was something that teachers could look at, hard evidence, factual evidence, and see, you know, real growth in this way that was helpful in bringing them further along the road toward seeing this as a really good and viable method of teaching reading. And so the fidelity piece, though, really is going and observing the teachers and using that fidelity checklist, making sure that they're doing the things there. And for the most part, when I observed teachers, they were pretty close. I mean, they were doing pretty well. There were some suggestions that I made, you know, here and there were still some inconsistencies. That's old habits, you know, that were difficult to break, especially with things like spelling. You know, they were willing to let students misspell words and not correct them and things like that, and so there were things that we still had to work on. And there were some teachers who were just, really stood out, and so what we're trying to do is have those teachers be kind of mentors to other teachers in terms of questions, if they have questions for instruction, or how to use the program, or how to integrate the program. Have those teachers as kind of point people for people to ask questions.
And glad to see, after a couple of years, year and a half of doing this now, that the end goal of EBLI is not just how do I get through these 30 lessons, or how do I get through these particular things, but how do we get beyond that and use all of the language and the methods with the authentic text that all of us know and love and want to get to and use. And our teachers are finally getting there. They're seeing that that is the end goal, and that, wow, now that our students have had some of this, the basics, the foundations are there, we can get to that more quickly. And we can pick up real and meaningful text and use it that way. And then we can not just be focused on, the phonics component of it, but what are we learning, by reading these things too. And that's where it just dovetails so nicely with what our teachers want to do. We're a PLC's school, right? A lot of schools say they're doing professional learning communities. We're doing it, and we're doing it do-for's style, right? 1 hour every week. Don't talk about next week's field trip or the kid that was bugging you second hour. What do we need every kid to learn? And how are we going to know whether they know it or not? And what are we going to do when they've learned it? And what are we going to do if they haven't learned it? And what we're finding is, in that 1 hour every week, with teachers, EBLI is coming up in conversation. And did you get to that lesson yet? And how did you teach that lesson? It flopped with my kids. Can you come and teach? We're talking pedagogy more and more. And there's a peer accountability that comes with that from my perspective, of course, is a great thing. But that's been helpful for us in implementation too, when we can have teachers on a weekly basis talking EBLI together and thinking through it. It's been powerful for us. It's a good thing.
But the teachers who'd been in a different, been teaching in a different mode for a while, it wasn't an easy shift. But they were able to make the shift, and I think as there were other teachers trained, and the money that we were able to gain through this grant allowed us to train everyone in the first 3 months of the school year or so, 2 months of the school year. And there were enough teachers who really saw the merits of it and who understood it and were excited about it, that I think it kind of changed the tide.
If we had to do it again, what would we do differently? I gave teachers a fair amount of leeway, maybe, in thinking through how are we going to take this EBLI stuff and teach it over the course of the year. And some of them took that and said, well, we're gonna teach the lessons, and we're gonna go through it, and we're gonna go through it quickly, and that way we can integrate it into some other things. And I had other classrooms that said, we're gonna spread it out a little bit more, and we want to take a few lessons, in this week or two, and then next unit we'll integrate these, and over the course of the year we'll cover the material, right? And different classrooms doing that differently, it worked, but didn't work as well as what I would have wanted. And I think I would push harder for teachers to hit it hard right away. In fact, this school year, those who took more time and spread it out, over the course of the year, a year ago, said that too. They said, this year we're gonna teach through the lessons. We're gonna move through it quickly, and that way we have the ability to keep going with a lot of our other unit stuff and integrate more and use the language more and make it fit with what we're already doing more. And they're already enjoying that too, and seeing that there's a difference there. And so if I had to start from square one again, I'd push teachers to do it that way.
Well, as administrator, I feel extremely strongly about EBLI. I've seen it work in 2 schools that I've been involved in. I've seen it work at Potter's House. And the main thing, once you see something work, you want to stay committed to it. And most schools, of course, there's so many new things coming down the pike all the time that you might have a focus on one thing this year, and then 5 years later you say, well, what happened to that? And so it's very important to me that we maintain a strong focus. It's not that hard to keep the strong focus because the teachers have seen such powerful results and believe in it so much. So EBLI was able to give us a program that the teachers could buy into, feel incredibly strong about, connect with the specific language that's used in the program, and we just started seeing things happening like popcorn all over the school, with kids starting to say, I'm going to EBLIize this, and it's just been very positive for us.